If you're over 60 and look like this is the most useful video you will ever see. Now picture this. You glance at your reflection in the mirror, or someone shows you a photo from the side. And suddenly, you notice your head is jutting forward, your shoulders are slouched, and your posture feels like it's leaning into the future instead of standing tall in the present. And here's what almost no one tells you about forward head posture after 60. A 2022 study from the Spine Journal found that adults over 60 with forward head posture weren't just more likely to experience neck pain or stiffness, they also showed higher rates of fatigue, memory fog, and even digestive slowdown. Why? Because when your head shifts even 2 inches forward, your spine has to absorb the weight of an extra 20 to 30 pounds every single moment you're upright. And here's the part that truly stopped me. A Japanese study out of Tohoku University followed 1,800 seniors for 10 years, and those with sustained forward head posture had a 56% higher risk of falling, even when their leg strength was totally normal. So today, Japan's oldest doctor will show us a simple 4-minute routine that can begin reversing forward head posture, safely and effectively. Welcome back to the Senior Health Podcast. Doctor, I'm genuinely excited about this one.
As am I, John, because the moment people hear posture, they think it's about standing straight, but it's not. It's about how the spine communicates with the brain. Posture is not a pose. It's a conversation between your muscles, your nerves, and your sense of safety. And when that conversation breaks down, everything gets harder.
That hits home, because for so many of my patients, they're not even aware their posture has changed until something else starts to go. Their energy, their balance, their breathing.
Exactly. And by then, the compensation patterns have already set in. The body starts bending forward, not because it's old, but because it's adapting, protecting itself. I've treated seniors in their 80s who were told to accept it. But we didn't accept it. We restored alignment, not with harsh corrections, but with gentle signals the body understands.
And that's what today's about. Not forcing the body into shape, but helping it remember its original design. You've said before that most seniors aren't failing, they're just folding.
Yes, and folding is not weakness, it's a request for support, circulation, and reconnection. So today we'll walk through a short 4-part routine I give to nearly every patient over 60. It starts with a simple neck warm-up and ends with a technique that helps realign your spine, reawaken your stabilizer muscles, and make you feel lighter. It is important to watch till the end since you will need all steps to get results.
That reminds me of someone I saw just last month. Alan, 71, told me he'd been feeling slouched for years, thought it was just the natural curve of aging. But after a few days of practicing your technique, just 4 minutes each morning, his wife said something powerful. She told him, "You look like yourself again."
That's it. Posture is memory, and we're about to help the body remember.
So before we start, Doctor, I want to ask every listener to leave us a comment about what topic you'd like to hear next, and don't forget to like the video. We always do our best to honor your wishes. Now let's begin, Doctor. Why does forward head posture become so common after 60? And what's really happening when the body starts to shift?
After 60, the spine doesn't just lose height, it loses coordination. The cervical vertebrae begin to stiffen, the deep neck flexors weaken, and over time the head subtly migrates forward. But this isn't just gravity or getting old, it's often a survival mechanism, the body adapting to protect vision, hearing, or even emotional tension stored in the upper back.
That's fascinating, especially the emotional piece. Most people think of posture as structural, but you're saying it's also neurological and psychological.
Absolutely. I've treated war survivors, widows, men who spent 40 years at a desk. The patterns of stress imprint themselves on the body, especially in the neck, shoulders and jaw. Forward head posture is often the result of a life spent leaning forward to survive, to work, to care. The body curls in as a form of protection, not just poor mechanics.
It's almost like the posture is telling a story, and that story gets written deeper the longer it goes unaddressed.
Yes, and the longer it's ignored, the more the nervous system thinks this posture is normal. It locks it in as the new baseline.
Which explains why so many people try chin tucks or posture braces and give up. They're fighting their own nervous system.
Exactly. It's not about pulling back harder. It's about sending new signals through movement and breath that remind the brain, you are safe, you can stand tall again.
So this isn't about yanking the body into shape. It's about retraining it, slowly and gently, to return to its natural center. And when you said the spine loses coordination, that really stuck with me. Because it means our goal isn't just to stretch, it's to reconnect. Let's talk about that. How do we begin restoring that connection, especially in the neck, before we move into the corrective exercises?
We begin by waking up the muscles that have gone quiet, not with strain, but with awareness. Before any correction, the neck needs to be reminded it can move. Rotation, flexion, gentle side bends. These are not exercises, they're invitations. They signal the brain that it's safe to release tension and re-establish mobility.
And I imagine the key here is slowness, giving the nervous system time to adjust, not forcing it into position.
Exactly. Rush movement triggers defense, but slow rhythmic movement activates the parasympathetic system, the state of rest, digestion, and healing. That's why in Japan, many of our clinics begin rehab with what we call sensory re-entry. The goal isn't to stretch the neck, it's to reconnect the neck with the rest of the body.
It's a kind of listening, not just moving, but noticing how it feels as you do it.
Yes, and especially for seniors, this is where most programs fail. They skip the listening and go straight to the fixing.
And that's often why they don't stick. If your body feels threatened, it resists, no matter how good the technique. So this warm-up isn't optional, it's foundational. So what does the warm-up look like?
Begin simply with the movement, breath, and awareness. I always start with 4 directions: rotation, flexion and extension, side bends, and what we call retraction, gently pulling the head back without lifting the chin. Each one is done slowly, without force. The purpose isn't to stretch, it's to feel, to sense where the tension lives and begin dissolving it.
So we're not chasing range of motion here. We're reintroducing control.
Yes. Seniors often think they've lost flexibility, but what they've really lost is stability. The brain will not allow movement where it doesn't feel secure. This warm-up re-establishes that safety. And that's what unlocks the motion. If you do it correctly, you'll feel your breath shift by the 2nd or 3rd round.
That's something I've seen again and again. When the body feels supported, it opens.
Exactly. And we always perform this warm-up for at least 30 seconds per direction, ideally twice through. That's enough to activate circulation and release the deep neck muscles, which are often offline after years of disuse.
I love that you're grounding this in sensation, not performance. It's not, how far can I turn, but can I reconnect while turning? So once the neck is warmed up and the brain feels safe, where do we go next? What's the first corrective step in the routine?
Once the neck is warm, we begin with what looks like a chin tuck. But it's much more than that. It's a coordinated movement that includes the shoulders, upper back, and deep postural chain. First, the hands clasped behind the back or rest gently in the lap. Then we retracted the shoulder blades, slowly, intentionally, as if trying to hold a pencil between them. And only then, we gently pulled the chin straight back, keeping the head level and the neck long.
That's a totally different feeling from just pulling the chin in. And I love that it involves the shoulder blades. Most people never think to link those to their neck, but when you describe it this way, it's obvious they're part of the same system.
Yes, because posture is not isolated. It's integrated. The head doesn't just float forward, it's pulled by what's happening around it. In many seniors, the front of the body becomes over-dominant, chest tight, shoulders collapsed, while the back becomes underactive. This movement reverses that pattern. It tells the body, you still remember how to hold yourself. And the key is to hold that position for 10 to 15 seconds, using breath to stay calm, then repeat it 2 to 3 times.
That breath element really matters. Without it, the body might brace instead of release.
Exactly. Breath is the difference between correction and tension. When you exhale slowly during the hold, you're telling the nervous system, you're safe here.
That reframe is powerful. You're not forcing posture back into place. You're inviting it forward through trust. So once someone feels that engagement, especially between the shoulder blades, what's the next step in reinforcing that alignment throughout the spine?
The next step is gentle traction, using gravity, not force, to reawaken the length of the spine. We use a towel placed at the upper back of the head, letting the arms hang forward while the towel anchors backward. This creates a passive pull that reminds the neck and upper thoracic spine how to extend without strain. And it activates muscles most people haven't used in years, especially around the base of the skull and between the shoulder blades.
So the towel isn't just support, it's communication.
Yes, it's a message to the spine. You don't have to carry the weight alone. And while the towel does the pulling, your job is to lift the crown of your head slightly upward, like you're decompressing.
That makes sense, because for so many people the habit of head forward isn't just physical, it's emotional. This gives them a chance to feel what upright can be without bracing or over-efforting.
Exactly. And I tell my patients, let the towel do the heavy lifting. You're not fighting to get taller. You're remembering how tall you already are. Hold that position for 10 to 15 seconds and do it 3 times. Each time, let your breath expand into the ribs. Feel how the spine naturally lifts with the inhale and stabilizes with the exhale. That's the body recalibrating in real time.
It's amazing how something so simple can feel so transformative.
And that's why I prefer this over any device or posture, brace, because it teaches the body, not forces it.
So now the spine has been supported, the neck has lengthened, and the shoulders are re-engaged. I feel like we're not just standing taller, we're moving from a more integrated place. I am so excited, Doctor. So what comes next?
Now we address the mid-back, the thoracic spine. This is the area that often becomes rigid after years of sitting, stress, and shallow breathing. We use a yoga block, a rolled towel, or even a small cushion to create a pivot point just beneath the shoulder blades. Then we lie back over it, slowly, letting the chest open and the rib cage expand.
That sounds incredibly gentle, but also deeply needed.
It is both, because this part of the spine rarely moves fully in daily life. We're always forward, driving, cooking, reading. But extension, we almost never do it.
And I'm guessing the body forgets how, unless it's given permission like this.
Exactly. That's why this isn't about pushing into the movement. It's about melting into it. You let your arms fall open, your head rests back, supported. Knees can stay bent for grounding or extended for more stretch. Both work. The position doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to feel like space is opening. I often have patients hold this for at least 30 seconds, and many stay longer, up to 5 or even 10 minutes. Over time, you'll notice the breath naturally deepens here. That's your nervous system shifting gears.
And for seniors, that kind of shift can change everything.
Yes, because this isn't just physical release, it's emotional permission.
You know, I've seen people come out of this stretch with tears in their eyes, not from pain, but because they felt open for the first time in years, like the armor had come off. And it makes me wonder, once someone finishes these 3 steps, how do they make this stick? What ensures it becomes a habit, not just a one-time relief?
Key is rhythm, not intensity. I always tell my patients, the body responds best to what is repeated, not what is extreme. 4 minutes a day done consistently will do far more than 40 minutes once a week. And anchoring that routine to a daily moment, like after brushing your teeth or before breakfast, helps the brain turn it into habit.
So it's less about willpower and more about weaving it into something you already do.
Yes, the brain loves patterns, especially predictable, low-friction ones. If the practice feels like a punishment, it won't stick.
That's why people drop out of rehab so often. They get overwhelmed, or they feel like they're failing if they miss a day.
Exactly. So I always remind them, missing one day is not the problem. It's the story they tell themselves afterward that breaks the rhythm. Make it easy. Use the same towel. Keep the block nearby. Build a space that welcomes the routine. And remember, this is not about perfect posture. It's about functional alignment. The goal isn't to stand like a soldier. It's to feel balanced, supported, and free in your own body.
That's such a relieving mindset.
Yes, because consistency built on compassion always lasts longer than discipline built on shame.
And that really reframes the whole idea of posture, not something to correct, but something to nurture. It also makes me think about how interconnected all this is. Breath, spine, nervous system, even emotions. So let me ask you this. For someone who's made it this far, what kind of changes might they start to notice, not just physically, but mentally or emotionally, in the first few weeks?
The first change most people notice is a kind of lightness, like their body isn't working so hard just to stay upright. Their breath deepens naturally. Some feel clearer in their thinking or notice digestion improving. All signs that blood flow and nerve signaling are improving. And emotionally, they describe a quiet shift from heaviness to ease. It's as if, by standing taller, something inside them begins to lift too.
That makes perfect sense. I've heard patients say they feel more alive, and I always thought they meant energy. But now I realize they were talking about presence, about feeling themselves take up space again.
Exactly. And it's often so subtle that people miss it. But posture is one of the fastest ways to change your state, even before you understand why. It shapes not just how we move, but how we relate to the world.
And when that relationship softens, everything else starts to shift too.
Yes, because when the body stops bracing, the mind starts opening.
And that shift becomes something you want to return to. Doctor, I think this episode was amazing, and I hope the people listening from home think the same. If so, please like this video and let us know in the comments that you did because it is so important to us. Hope to see you in the next episode.